The galactic transit station hummed with the usual chaos of 1,000 species trying to coexist in one pressurized bubble. Lyra had been waiting at Gate 47 for 3 hours now, her transport to the mining colonies delayed yet again. She sat cross-legged on her duffel bag, scrolling through her datapad with the resigned patience only humans seem to possess. That's when she noticed them. 2 small creatures, no bigger than house cats, with sleek midnight blue fur that rippled like liquid shadow. Their eyes were enormous and golden, set in faces that could only be described as adorable. They sat perhaps 10 meters away, watching her with an intensity that made her smile. "Well, aren't you too precious?" Lyra murmured, extending a hand. The larger of the 2 cubs, she assumed they were cubs, given their size, tilted its head. Then, to her delight, it padded closer. The second followed, moving with a fluid grace that reminded her of otters sliding through water. Lyra had always had a way with animals. Back on Earth, strays found her like she broadcast some invisible signal. Her apartment had been a revolving door of injured birds, lost dogs, and one memorable incident with a confused raccoon. So when the cubs approached, she didn't hesitate. "Hey there, little ones," she cooed, scratching behind the larger cub's ears. Its fur was impossibly soft, and it made a sound not quite a purr, more like a subsonic hum that vibrated through her fingertips. The smaller cub Rin, she decided to call him, because he had a distinctive rin-shaped marking above his left eye, climbed onto her lap with surprising familiarity. Within minutes, both cubs had claimed her as their personal furniture. One draped across her shoulders like a living scarf, the other curled contentedly in her lap. Other travelers gave her a wide berth. A Zenthari merchant actually gasped and hurried past, its tentacles pulled tight against its body. A group of Crixian diplomats froze mid-conversation, their compound eyes fixed on her with what looked like horror. Lyra assumed it was typical xenophobic nonsense. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic stage, and plenty of species found them unsettling, too adaptable, too reckless, too willing to befriend anything with a pulse. She'd stopped caring about the stairs months ago. What she didn't notice was the security detail that had quietly materialized around her position. Nor did she see the emergency alert that had been triggered the moment the cubs made contact. She was dozing off, Rin's warm weight a comfortable pressure on her chest, when a voice broke through her drowsiness. "Excuse me, human." Lyra opened one eye to find a Vothrine security officer standing before her, all 4 of its arms held in a gesture of extreme caution. Its blue carapace had gone pale, nearly white with what she'd learned was their expression of fear. "Yeah?" she said, yawning. "I need you to remain very calm and very still," the officer said, its translator rendering its voice as a whisper despite the clicking urgency of its native speech. "Do not make any sudden movements." Lyra blinked. "What? Why?" "The creatures on your person," the officer continued, and now she noticed its service weapon was drawn but pointed at the floor. "Can you tell me who authorized them to be in this sector?" "Authorized?" Lyra glanced down at the cubs. Rin had opened one golden eye and was watching the officer with lazy interest. "They're just I don't know, strays. They came up to me. They're harmless." The officer made a sound like grinding gears. "Harmless. Human. Those are Valdrek cubs. Okay?" Lyra said, still not understanding. "Is that bad?" "Valdrek," the officer repeated, as if saying it louder would make her comprehend. "Apex predators from the Scourge Rim. Adult Valdrek have been known to hunt ships human. Those cubs could disembowel a Zenthari in under 3 seconds. Their bite force exceeds most industrial presses. And it gestured helplessly at the scene before it, petting them." Lyra looked down at Rin, who chose that moment to yawn, revealing rows of crystalline teeth that gleamed like knives. The cub on her shoulders nuzzled her neck affectionately. "Huh," she said. "They seem pretty chill to me." "They've imprinted on you," another voice said. Lyra turned to see a Valdrek adult approaching, and now she understood the terror. The adult stood nearly 3 meters tall, its fur storm gray and bristling with what looked like metallic quills. Its eyes blazed like captured suns, and its presence radiated predatory power that made every instinct in Lyra's hindbrain scream danger. But the Valdrek moved with careful deference, almost apologetically. "I am Therakan," it said, its voice a deep rumble. "These are my offspring. They wandered from our bay. I apologize for any distress." It paused, tilting its massive head. "Though you seem remarkably undistressed. Should I be stressed?" Lyra asked, genuinely curious now. They're just babies. Just babies, the Valdrek repeated, and was that amusement in its tone? Human, my offspring have been trained since hatching to guard our clan. They are not pets. They are warriors in waiting. They're doing a pretty good job of being cute, Lyra said, scratching Rin under the chin. The cub's hum intensified. Therakin sat back on its haunches, regarding her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You are the human who fed a Kresh Hive mother last month, aren't you? The station still speaks of it. She looked hungry, Lyra said defensively. How was I supposed to know she was conducting a religious fast? The Valdrek's laugh was like an avalanche-given voice. My offspring have chosen well. They have declared you pack-friend human Lyra. This is a great honor among our people. Pack-friend? Lyra looked down at the cubs, who stared back with those impossibly innocent eyes. So they're actually guarding me? With their lives, should it come to that, Therakin confirmed, though I suspect it will not. Few beings would be foolish enough to threaten something under Valdrek protection. The security officer made a strangled sound. Is this permitted? The cubs have chosen, Therakin said simply. It is their right. Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with Rin's body heat. Well, she said, grinning up at the massive predator. Guess I've got bodyguards now. As if in agreement, both cubs began to purr, that strange subsonic hum that made the air vibrate. Around them, the crowd maintained a respectful distance, and Lyra settled back to wait for her delayed transport, flanked by the galaxy's most adorable apocalypse engines. Humans, the Galactic Council would later note in their updated species profile, have an unfortunate tendency to befriend things that should absolutely eat them. They added this observation right below the entry about humans adopting Kresh Hive mothers and just above the incident report about a human trying to help a neutron star look less lonely. The universe, it seemed, would never quite know what to do with them.